We're going to take a look at a bump and run beater out of the Broncos playbook. This one's called Gun Snugs Flip Will Switch. Now, let me just say this. This play is not in the Patriots playbook. It's only in the Broncos playbook as far as between these two different playbooks. So I want to point that out. And that's another reason you might want to run the Broncos playbook. If you're looking for a nice bump and run man beater, this one's pretty effective as far as being bump and run man coverage. Now, let me just say this. With that, this play is effective against bump and run man coverage, providing that you wind up having this particular receiver that I'm about to show covered by a dime back. If he's covered by a safety or linebacker, then you have to go ahead and throw it a little bit differently. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and give you an idea of what we're doing. Right now, the route that we're going to concentrate in on is going to be this guy right here, which happens to be the inside slot receiver on the right. You're going to notice he's running this wheel route outside in this area here. He winds up going up the field, and then he breaks up on that wheel route. Now, his route, as I said before, can be very effective as far as beating bump and run man coverage. Now, for those of you guys who have taken a look at the promo page for the X and O's film room, you notice I ran a play called Gun Bunch, which is called Gun Bunch Verticals. Let's go ahead and take a look at that play real quick, because I want to show you something real quick. And now, don't get these two places confused, because they do look alike in one sense, but in as far as the way it runs, it kind of works the same way, but something's different. And I want to point that out to you before we go back into this Gun Snugs Flip Will Switch. This receiver right here, if you're looking at him, he's running the wheel route as well, right? This is going to be the flanker. Now, in the video, I wind up doing this. I want to motion this guy to the outside, and he winds up breaking up the field. Matter of fact, we'll go ahead and run the play here. And he winds up breaking up the field and winds up getting open. Now, if you remember right, if we go back into the Gun Snugs Flip, it's that inside receiver is running that wheel route. Now, you're going to see the same thing happen with that particular play as far as getting that defender open, or excuse me, as far as getting that receiver open. But there's a difference because he's the inside receiver, and the coverage has changed up a little bit, and you'll see what I mean in just a bit. Let's go ahead and run this just real quick, this play right here. This is that verticals play that I've shown before out of the Gun Bunch. And you just go ahead and motion to the outside, and he winds up breaking up the field, and he winds up being open. Now, keep in mind, this is against two-man under coverage as well. So, again, if we look at it, let's go ahead and run this real quick from the go ahead and do this. There's that coverage I was just telling you about, right? That's two-man under. That's out of the dollar normal. And then, again, this is that play I was just showing. It's Gun Bunch weak called verticals. Now, I could have put this in here as far as a breakdown. I've actually already shown this in the Patriots playbook. It was just under center. It was a single-back bunch. So if you hadn't had a chance to look at that play, go ahead and take a look at it. And it's the same play, basically. It's just rather than being a shotgun, it's just out of the single back. And if not, just look at the X and O's film room promo page, and you can wind up seeing the same play being broken down. From the top-down view, just real quick, I'm not going to get too much more into this one, but I just want to point that out because there's going to be something different as you watch. Again, you can kind of see how that guy gets wide open, kind of see how that corner takes if you go ahead and just kind of zoom in over there, you can see how he goes to the outside, and then he winds up breaking to the outside there, right there. That's where that receiver gets that extra couple steps that he needs to get open as far as the separation. So let's go back into this because, like I said, this was supposed to be talking about the Gun Snugs Flip Will Switch. And the reason I wanted to show the other plays for this reason, you'll see here in just a second. And let's go ahead and run it against the exact same play. It's two-man under out of dollar normal. Again, you're going to wind up getting that same type of reaction, right? Now, keep in mind, the dime back happens to be the inside defensive back that's covering him is right here. He's lined up across from in this area here. He's covering him, right? Watch what happens. We're going to go ahead and motion him to the outside, right? You see that guy go out, snap the ball, and you wind up getting that same reaction. Actually winds up getting jammed late on that. Let's go and run that one more time. Generally, that doesn't happen when you run this. Let's go and do that same thing again. Go and motion the guy to the outside, snap it when he gets out there. And then see how we get that separation? And we wind up making that completion. Now, that's against the dollar normal. That would work against the dime as well. Anytime it has to be a defensive back covering him. Okay, it has to be a dime back. It cannot be a nickel back, nor can it be it can be a nickel back. It can't be a safety covering him, and it can't be a linebacker. It has to be some kind of defensive back. Again, it cannot be a linebacker. It cannot be a safety for this to work. So keep that in mind as you run this. So, okay, we go ahead and motion this guy to the outside. So, again, he was from lined up here. We wind up motioning him to the outside, and we wind up snapping the ball. And then he winds up running this wheel route up in this area here. And, again, this defender that's covering him, which is this guy wind up going out to him with him, winds up going out here, and he winds up taking kind of gets slowed down, I guess, if you will, and then he winds up heading up the field. But by that time, he's a couple yards behind, and he's not going to be able to cover that receiver. And that's what you're going to see. See, again, how he comes inside. And then by the time he gets going right there, he takes a pause, breaks up the field, and that receiver gets open. So that's what you got to look for when you're running this. Now again, that's a dime back that's covering him, right? And then we wind up completing the pass even against two deep coverage there, with that guy playing that deep safety, playing that deep zone coverage to the right. Again, you can kind of see how he gets open. So that's how that works, right? Now let's take a look at something else here and break this play down a little bit differently. Let's go and run it again against a different coverage. Now again, we're going to run against the will switch. As far as the play we're running will switch. We're going to run this against a popular defensive formation. This is the nickel sub. By the way, with this Raiders playbook, I didn't want to use the Raiders defensive playbook because it just doesn't have enough good stuff in it worthy of showing as far as with defenses. But this particular playbook I'm using is the Jets defensive playbook, and they do have some nice stuff in it. What we're going to run this against is just this nickel, a nickel sub cover one. We are going to call bump and run man coverage. Now, as I said before, this is different. What you wind up getting here is a safety that's in coverage this time. So you wind up getting a strong safety who's covering him. So he's covering this. This is the guy right here covering him, right? Let's go ahead and go into that. And I want to show that to you guys. Again, here's the coverages right there. Actually, if you see that, it kind of looks like a little bit of a switch, but that's not really what the coverages is. It actually winds up showing that this safety here is covering this guy, but actually the safety is really covering this guy here. And that's what you're going to see here in just a second. So let's go ahead and motion this guy out. And then you're going to wind up seeing that guy going to the outside. Now see, when you do that, look what happens. Even though I got that completion, if you watch that from this view here, look, when I snap that ball, look where this guy's at in relation with the outside receiver I just motioned. So you can kind of see where he's at. He's lined up right here, right? And if you, let's actually not, he's not blitzing, he's actually in man coverage. He comes way over here, right? But he's standing right here at the point. He's right here right now. Now, if you remember right, when we're in the dollar defense that we just showed, the dollar two-man under, he actually winds up coming out, and that would have wound up being that dime back actually comes out. In this particular formation, and as well as some of the other formations where a nickel back, or excuse me, where a safety or linebacker's covering him, he actually doesn't come out initially once the motion's been done. And so with that said, what happens is this guy winds up being in better position if you wait. So the ball's going up the field, here goes that receiver, and then this guy winds up going up the field, and then this guy winds up covering him, but he's in better position to cover him because he doesn't take that same angle. Let's go ahead and go back over here. Again, let's go ahead and look at it right there. See right there? He doesn't wind up getting, he doesn't get all messed up. As a matter of fact, look, he's in pretty good position to cover that, right? So that's the problem with that. If you're going to run this against a play where there's a nickel back or a linebacker covering him, excuse me, a safety, I keep wanting to say nickel back. When a safety or a linebacker's covering him, then you're going to wind up getting this in most cases. He's just not going to be as open. So keep that in mind. Again, that's a safety or a linebacker. So what do you got to do to get him open? Well, you can do this. Let's go ahead and run that same thing again. Let's go ahead and motion him to the outside. Now, hopefully you just don't get a bad snap like that. If you get a bad snap, then you're not going to be able to make that throw either. So let's go and run it again. Same thing. Hopefully your quarterback and the center can actually get a good exchange, because what you can do if you get it properly snapped right, you can try to make a real quick throw out to the outside, and again that winds up being picked off. But you can try to do that, and sometimes you're going to get that completion to the outside. So that's the downside of running this. If you're running this play, that's why I'm pointing this out to you, because I wanted to show this to you. There we wind up completing it for, well, he actually breaks the tackle there, picking up about 8 yards. If you're going to run this play, understand that if it's a dime back covering the slot receiver who's running that wheel route, then this play is going to work. If it's a linebacker or a safety covering them, then it's going to be a little bit less effective because you're going to have to throw it earlier. Again, you can go ahead and try to do it, such as what I'm showing there, and then you can complete that. But you got to throw it quick and early. You can't wait because, again, that guy is going to wind up being in position to defend that a lot of times. Same thing again. So just there's a bad snap there, and if you get a bad snap, then that's pretty much it. I mean, you can try to go ahead and throw up to the top, but then you're going to probably wind up getting that. So keep that in mind when you run this, and keep in mind this is a cover 1 defense I'm running. This isn't a cover 0. Same thing again, or a cover 3 or anything like that, or cover 2, excuse me. So same thing again. We're going to go ahead and motion this guy to the outside here again, and then we're just going to throw it out there. But you're going to have to make sure you throw that ball quickly if you're going to complete this. If you don't, like I said, the chances it could get picked off, or you're just not going to be able to complete it. So again, let's go ahead and run this one more time against another different defense. I want to show this. Let's run against this one nickel normal, and let's go ahead and run against a 2-man under. And again, we'll run this switch play. Now this is with a linebacker covering him. So this time it winds up having a linebacker out here covering him, which is right here. So let's go ahead and run the play as I was showing earlier. Let's just go ahead and motion to the outside and try to throw it when he gets down the field. Now the only thing I can tell you about that is if you get him matched up against a linebacker, if that receiver has enough speed, he should be able to get open down the field. Against a safety, probably not as much. But then again, kind of keep an eye. If the safety doesn't have the same speed rating, maybe the safety has an 82 speed rating, and he gets matched up against a 90-some speed receiver, then you should be able to still get that open. Because once he does break down the field, you should wind up getting some separation. Again, now this is the linebacker that's covering him. Now you can throw it again like this. If you want to try to throw it in there and try to complete it. But again, you understand that guy's going to have a different position than what a dime back would have. Let's go and run the same thing again. So you're just different position. So a lot of different things you got to look at. I'm trying to point this out to you guys because I want you guys, when you guys run this play, to understand that depending on what the pass coverage is going to determine how well this play is going to work. Because it doesn't work exactly the same as the gun bunch verticals, where it's because it's the outside receiver. He's always going to be covered by a dime back or an outside corner. In this case, it wound up being a left cornerback. If you flip the play, it'd be covered by the right corner. Whereas this play here, this gun snugs flip will switch, even though that guy's running that will route, it's a will route. It's the same route. It's just that now, and rather than being the outside receiver, it's an inside receiver. So when you run this one, just keep that in mind as you run this and you try to lab this and you find out, hey, why didn't Cobra tell me this? Why didn't this play work? Why does it work against his dollar defense? Why does it work against his quarter defense? Why does it work against his dime normal? But then it doesn't work against this nickel defense. It doesn't work against this defense. Well, I'm telling you why, and that's why I'm breaking this play down for you and really kind of going in depth with it. So anyways, this play is called the gun snugs flip will switch.